3, 2, 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, welcome to episode 3 of Primary Market Podcast. Today we have an incredible Los Angeles-based artist named Brendan Donnelly, and I'm so happy to have you on the show, Brendan. And hello.
How you doing?
Excellent. So, Brendan, we have so much to talk about because I feel like we have mutual friends. Well, one specifically, my best friend from growing up, Christian, knows you. Or I'd love to hear a little bit of backstory before we kind of get into the art stuff.
Okay. I met him like most people now, just through like collecting on Instagram. He kept posting, he has a great collection. I mean, his house is insane. It's just full of everything. And we grew up like 45 minutes apart from each other. So we were in the 90s. We were at all the same venues, shows, knew the same record shops and all that shit. And bands and labels that were around. And he would post a lot of flyers or skateboards or whatever from his collection. And I didn't know that at the time he was with Ashley, his, friend of ours. And he posted something in my neighborhood and I was like, oh shit, I live like right up the street. He was visiting and then we met up and hit it off. And so whenever I go back home, I make an effort to go up and see him, or when he's in town, we do stuff here. And we just became really close friends after that. And I think it's like having, especially, getting older, a lot of people our age have pretty much still the exact same interests we did when we were teenagers, and are able to buy the stuff that we've always wanted, or we know people that can get us certain things now. So his house is like a museum of just cool ephemera. My place is full of stuff. I'm in my wife's office now, so that's why I'm hunched over trying to block boxes and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's
awesome. So that's the perfect segue to kind of get into your birth into the art world and as an artist. You want to give us a little bit of story of your personal journey and early inspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I'm in the art world per se. I just make art and show art when I can, and I don't really know how. I mean, I kind of know how that world works. I don't play the game and really navigate it. When things come, they come, and I know there's like a big shift now with that. But I've been with galleries and stuff before. I think, my story is like everybody else that's around my age. It's suburbs, skateboarding, punk, heavy metal, Nirvana, album art, record shops. Like we all had to learn that way. There wasn't access to the internet at that time. I mean, there was, but it wasn't to purchase things and to, have a network like we do now with Instagram and social media. So you kind of had to figure it out yourself. And it was through album art is how I got into. I mean, I always drew. Like I loved drawing skateboard graphics as a kid. Snowboard catalogs would come and I draw the graphics there. But I think getting to the actual art was through album art. Like that really, and I said this to somebody recently too, it's Nirvana paved the way for all of that, especially when you're, when they first came out. I was in 5th grade when Nevermind
album.
Yeah, so it was through Kurt wearing a T-shirt that said the Melvins, and you're like, what's the Melvins? And then you go to a record store and you get bullied by the guy that works there and tells you to buy this Melvins album instead of this one, and you have to deal with that, which I really love, and I wish we still had that type of gatekeeping now at record stores and clothing stores and video stores. But yeah, so it's just through that, and then a lot of through that it was Sonic Youth, having the Dirty cover, the Goo cover, like that's how I figured out Mike Kelly, Rim Pettibone, and I would just once you find that artist, then you start to connect the dots where it's like, oh, wait, he's the guy that drew all the Black Flag stuff that I have an album of him. Like it starts to
Who was
connect.
that?
Raymond
Who
Petty.
did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So all of that
Is he
connecting.
an LA artist, or was he?
Yeah, he lives in New York now, but he's an old LA punk artist. And now massive fine artist. But yeah, it was through stuff like that, and then then in high school, it was still kind of the same. I still was always drawing. Like you win, I don't know, like a award or whatever for
Mhm.
when you're in high school, and then and I really had no other option but to go to art school. I was like, I applied to film school, I got rejected. I didn't have the grades to go to a real college, which I, in retrospect, wish I worked harder to go to an actual university. But I went to art school and then figured it out from there, and I'm still figuring it out.
Did you think? Did you see yourself like back then as kind of an art kid or an outsider?
Oh yeah, for
And,
sure. Yeah.
and then how did that how did that tie to the pop culture that you were participating in? Like you said Nirvana, but like you said, you were also going to show like similar shows to what Christian was going to. I remember
Yeah.
he was going to crazy off the beaten path stuff when we were kids. So I'd imagine, like, I don't even remember the names of these places, but like,
I am just because he and I, every time we go back, well, every time I go back home, I'll go to certain spots in Connecticut that only people that would go to, a punk show or a hardcore show would know. And they were like random basements underneath like a steakhouse or something. So
yeah.
go to that parking lot. I send him a photo every time, and he's like, "That's the Newtown Teen Center." And then
Wow.
go somewhere else. That's the Bristol Skate Park. Like there was this one spot that we had in our town called the Beanery, and it was all the bands would play there. Um, and after middle school or high school, whatever, everybody kind of nobody goes to shows or anything after that, and that place closed. But when I go back home, I could now it's a tennis court. I could take a photo of that and be like, "What was at this location?" And he'll know. So like, yeah, we had pretty much the same journey as far as music and pop culture goes, growing up in the suburbs.
Would you say that a lot of your art is inspired by trying to capture some of the feelings that those places and that time represented?
Yeah, I mean, I still have the same fucking interests. Everything still comes back to that. I mean, I don't really do abstract art. Maybe one day I will, but everything kind of ties into, the kind of subculture and pop culture and, um, I don't know, loneliness or whatever that I grew up with. And it's the thing that still inspires me. Like
Wow.
finding, like vintage t-shirts and using those as reference jump off points for like, I don't know, a fine art piece or everything's still kind of interconnected as it was back when I was a kid.
So, like, what about so a lot of your art I've noticed, uses that strong imagery of like um, a vampire, and you have a character that's a vampire or something like that,
Yeah.
not or
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Uh,
that went
how?
that oh my God. What were you saying? How did that come about? Where's that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That was in around like 2007. um I had one of my best friends lives in Los Angeles, and he like owned a apartment, and I was out visiting, and so was
From
another friend of
Connecticut,
mine.
or were you living in a different
I
part of?
was in New York at the time, so came
Me
out
too.
here. Yeah, so I was in New York, and then stayed at his place for. He was leaving town and needed somebody to stay there, so I was like, "I'll stay there. I'll take care of whatever." Which is bad because whenever I go somewhere, I always like bring everybody with me. So now my karma caught up, and people now, like, people are coming to my house all the time, and I'm like, get the, um, but he had me stay at his house, and I was another friend came in, and we would always go to Hollywood Boulevard and watch those character actors getting their photo taken with tourists and stuff. So we're like, like, what if we took like Nosferatu the vampire and put him there? But then we started to spiral and think of like a narrative behind it. Like, oh, his, his father's the famous vampire Nosferatu. It's his son who just wants to be an actor in LA. I mean, it went everywhere. It's like he loves James Dean. He loves the movie on. He loves the show Entourage. He loves Starbucks. Like he loves everything about America. He wanted a Fiat, like all this stuff. And so we were just joking around, and we went to the Halloween store, and I bought, ears, makeup, fake fangs, the costume, and everything. And we shot a pilot just for ourselves because all our friends would like come over and hang out all day, and everybody, works in film or whatever. So we just had a fucking blast making it. And then he came home, and we all left, but like all the footage got lost, which really sucks. I have one little clip of it, but then I moved back to New York and was just bored, like just really bored living in the middle of nowhere in Bushwick. And this is in like 2009 or '08 or '09. And I started thinking about that character again. I was like, oh shit, whatever happened? Like, so I would just put on the makeup and dance around in my apartment for fun. It's like right when YouTube, I guess, was like coming out too, and I was like, I'll throw it on there. And then I had this blog, and I put it on there, and then it just became a viral video for
Wow.
a year, and it was like on Tosh Point 2.0 or whatever those shows are.
Tosh Point oh or
Yeah, Tosh
something.
like all over that stuff. It was ridiculous. And then I
I
packed.
remember it on that show actually.
Yeah,
Now that
yeah. And there was another one of those, like, not ridiculous,
oh
but like MTV '09 ish era, or like E Entertainment, whatever. And then yeah, it went away for years. It was just a thing that just got lost on the internet. And then my friends that do the emo night um, thing in LA were like, why don't we bring back the character?
already I'm
But it's
love
funny, like I also
media.
when in '09 I was 100 and 50 pounds and was 28 years old, and then in 2016 they're like, let's do it again, and I'm like, look like Uncle Fester. I've gained weight. I've gotten older. The makeup looks like shit. It's like not. I can't dance anymore. Like before, it was all like crazy, and I can barely move my back because my arms, my back hurts. So we we did like a couple videos of that. Did a performance, which there were like 4,000 people or something at the shrine for we create. I don't know. So yeah, so this vampire character has never left, and it's somehow worked its way into not every thing I do, but like majority of the work will have that
Wow.
character. I think, yeah. So I don't know. It's like in the show I had a few years ago, it was all based around like Hollywood, which came
I've
full circle
I've
again.
also noticed like over the past like through just observing your stuff on Instagram and Googling you and just talking about you throughout the decades of your career, there's a certain kind of darkness or to common thread that like ties like Hollywood Cemetery and vampires and like your dresses like that are kind of like Victorian, they're
Yeah,
like mourning.
yeah.
um you want to kind of elaborate on that, and like you're working with Death and Company way back, like
Yeah, when they
what is
started.
this kind of like wrestling with death type of theme that where does that come from?
Mm, I don't know, because like in my personal life, I'm well adjusted. I guess I have like a kid, a dog, a wife, a house. you know, wear a fucking sweater.
Yeah.
It's I think when I go to actually make work, it's not from a happy place. I don't think there's anything happy about my work. I don't know. It's a way for me to get out whatever's inside emotionally or mentally. It's also my interest too. Like growing up, I loved, um, always like Tales from the Crypt,
Mm.
um, horror movies, those Faces of Death movies, any
Oh,
yeah, like those were crazy. Those were really fun to watch as a kid. And like album art too. Growing up, it was like Metallica was one of those albums. Like my parents didn't give a shit what we listened to, but Metallica was um, their artwork as far as like album covers. I really loved, and the T-shirt graphics because there was something just really dark and
Show Up
offensive.
Your Ass is my favorite one.
Yeah, yeah. But then there was, Guns N' Roses had skeleton. There was always like everything had like skeletons in it, fucking cemeteries, and it kept. And then like I don't know, I was kind of depressed as a kid at certain times, and you hear certain music that's depressing, and just you cling on to it. And I don't know, the common thread still with this darkness element. It's like I'm not questioning my more own mortality or anything. It's just I'm just really interested into more of the darker side of things, especially with like American culture. I like the darker side of subculture, pop culture genres. I like the kind of alienation, and as far as like things I collect, always has. But I have to balance it with humor too. Like it's
I was
not
just
just
gonna say, there's all of it is loaded with this tongue-in-cheek element of humor
yeah.
that really resonates with me, and maybe with my our friend Christian too, or like where does that come from, or how does that tie into it? Like, are you laughing at death, or laughing at culture, or both, or like elaborate?
I don't know. I think it's more. I need to have that balance. Like there definitely if there I have to have a balance between dark and light and
Mm.
death and humor, and I don't I don't really know. Like I think again, like growing up watching cartoons, and yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But there definitely is. There has to be an element of humor involved. I mean, there doesn't, but for me, I need that balance too, because I can't just have incredibly like dark stuff or tongue in cheek
Yeah,
stuff or just pure comedy. Like I need to have the balance
yeah.
with both of
It
those
walks
together.
the line really well. So that also uh, begs the question, like, when you moved to California, when did you move to California? And then how did, Hollywood and fame and the history of Hollywood and pop culture start tying into the work you were creating?
I moved here in 2009. I used to come out here in the mid 2000s to hang out with people, and I never liked it here. I never liked Los Angeles. I never really liked California. I was all grew up like an hour out of the city, so I was always in New York. I thought I'd be a lifer there, and then just hit a point where I just couldn't do it anymore, and hopped in the car and drove out here and had to just figure it out. I had a suitcase with like some props in it. Like there was like the Nosferatu costume, some books, some art supplies,
Wow.
my best friend, a dog, and then some other dude in this tiny little car I had. So came out here with no real agenda. I just wanted to change, and was already doing like graphics for clothing companies and stuff. So I had like a little bit of connection here with people in that regard, that I could work with and stuff. And then I mean, always growing up, like even in college, I took like improv classes and comedy writing classes and like screenwriting classes and acting classes here and there. And I wanted for a while like to be an actor, entertainer. Like I really enjoyed that. We used to make videos all the time when I was in high school and college and stuff, and after college. And so then when I got here, it was like, okay, I met somebody. They would put me on castings and stuff, and you driving. This is before you did like tape and auditions, so you're driving around everywhere. And I would always go to Hollywood Boulevard just because I like the history of it.
Hmm.
and they had, as like far as collecting goes, there were these great memorabilia stores that had tons of posters, um, lobby cards, frame publicity shots,
Do
DVDs, like
those not
everything.
exist anymore?
No, there's none of that exists anymore. There was this one great one that was next to, I think it was Musso and Frank's. It was next to there, and they shut down. But a lot of these places would sell red carpet photos, like the physical ones of, like George Clooney on the red carpet, or
Yeah.
River Phoenix, like doing something. And
Yeah.
I would buy all those just because they were at this time, like digital photography was coming in, and there weren't really places to buy physical photos or postcards. So I would go to all these places, buy as much as possible from those racks. They had the postcard racks, and
Hmm.
then those things kind of started to die out. And in a lot of these stores, they would have books on Hollywood, because obviously, like, I loved reading about certain actors and films that I liked. And
Like who and what specifically?
I mean, one of like Harvey
That's,
Keitel's books I really loved.
whoa.
Yeah, no, he didn't write them. They were biographies, like Steve McQueen books. And I just like scripts too. They would sell scripts. You could get, a Reservoir Dog script. You could get a Bad Lieutenant script. You could get Pulp Fiction. And I just really like, I always wanted to be a writer too. So I would study
Wow.
like how to properly do those. I mean, none of it paid off, because clearly I'm, you know doing art stuff. Maybe I'll get back to writing one day. But yeah, so it was like this fascination with it, and I then reading, in college, seeing Kenneth Anger's movies and hearing about Hollywood Babylon and Hollywood Babylon 2, and read all those celebrity gossip things from back then. And I
What is
always,
Hollywood Babylon?
it's the Kenneth Anger book about all the dark side of Hollywood and all the scandals, and you know um, things that happened within Hollywood that are pretty dark, like Fatty Arbuckle's rape trial, like shit like that. So it just goes on. It's just kind of the history of the dark side of the film world. So
What's your take on why or how um, that happens? Do you think that's just humanity just playing out at kind of an extreme level? Like what what happens with it's happening out in the suburbs or something like that, but the people are just less attractive and there's less money involved or something? What's
yeah,
going on?
yeah. There's no fame attached to it. There's no publicity. There's no spectacle.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a consumer culture. Like that's and and scandal tabloids are something that we grew up with. I mean, everywhere you'd go to a doctor's office, there was a People magazine, In Touch or whatever, In Style. There
Yeah.
was Weekly World News, which was one of the best like fake tabloid paper. I still have some issues. It was, if
Wow.
I feel bad that kids didn't grow up on reading Weekly World News to see, aliens talking to Bill Clinton, or a Bigfoot hooker revealing a tell-all with Charlie Sheen or something. Like those were like, we all grew up around that time, and so we have a sense of humor as far as that goes. But it's like pop culture magazines were always around. There was always
Star magazine.
our magazine. I mean, I still have some from the late '90s, and
Wow.
I think it's just it's something about seeing a celebrity or a musician that you like, or a public figure. As a culture, we like to watch their rise and their downfall, and
Mhm.
I think it's more interesting. Or no, I don't really anymore. I don't find it interesting, but I think at the time I found it more interesting that just with paparazzi culture, and media culture, that they were these powerful figures that were getting taken down, or they had scandals. They
Uh-huh.
were caught with stripper, like, or hookers, and we feed off that. And then it's the next thing happens. Like, I think what Diddy got arrested the other day, so I was following that trial. It's like you still go to the grocery store, and there's, I don't know, whatever celebrity now going through a suicidal phase, and they put that out there. So it's something I think deeply
Crazy.
ingrained with like our culture, and I think with like
something about those magazines that I also find interesting is that, like, they're just these devices to push products, and like
Mhm.
the celebrities are the shill for that product. It's like, okay, fucking this celebrity is wearing this t-shirt brand or something like that. It's like now everyone's got to buy that t-shirt or buy that type of jewelry, or whatever they're pushing, whatever that agenda is, and everyone's like getting a cut of it. It's like this unbelievable, crazy consumer machine. I'm not hating on it, it's just talking about it. It's just
How are the people that
fascinating,
can do that? It's like,
right?
I think, yeah, I obviously know how like the record industry works a little bit, and they'll prop an artist up and tell them what to say, especially with like rap music, I think, now more than ever. But
Mm.
yeah, it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty disconnected with a lot of pop culture stuff now, but definitely like pushing, whether it's an agenda or if you wear like I've had celebrities in the past wear like a t-shirt of mine and it's in a blog or magazine, and then you know everybody else sees this person wearing it, and then my sales go up a bit, and then the next trend comes. So it's good if you're on the receiving end of it because then
Hmm.
it gives you a name. But yeah, I I wouldn't go out and buy something that a celebrity wore now, or take
You
into
say
consideration
that.
anything they said to go do something, whether it's you know.
Also, because it's so loaded. There's 10 people behind them, kind of, or whatever that is. But so that ties into the show that you did in 2022.
Yeah.
That the I Wanted to Be an Actor show.
Mhm.
And how does that, like everything we've been talking about, tie into your like ideas of modern fame and Hollywood? Um, and like what sparked that concept of that of that show a few years ago?
Um, I think that was for me, that was like that was at the time like the most personal thing I did, because it was showing a lot of I mean, obviously the title, it's like like did want to be an actor at one point, and it's hard to remember your lines in an audition or something. So it did have like that funny tongue in cheek element, but a lot of those things that I collected in that show and uh, were things of my journey here, I guess, like to California, things that I purchased along the way that worked itself into telling a story. Um, a lot of the massive wall, collaged wall, those were all really dark but comedic tabloid clippings and magazine covers and photos that again like collected for 30 something years, and then
Wow.
everything, yeah, and like it it's hard because I mean, to the naked eye or whatever, it might just look like a bunch of clippings on a wall and photos, but
Yeah, like I assumed you got the stuff like, all right, a little bit of this and that at Facebook Marketplace, or had some
no,
stuff.
no. I mean, some things maybe on eBay, but for the most part, it's all everything that I've just collected. A clipping, if it's something I like, it goes into a folder. But those,
Wow.
it tells a story. Like I wish everything was here because I could connect the dots. But it takes like 6 months to put connect the dots on these massive wall collages. Like it's not just thrown up there. Like it's well thought out, and you can read I don't know, the bulletin board, the red lines going everywhere, like it's like the
Hmm.
Charlie Day meme. And yeah, and then there was a lot of stuff like the the porno DVD thing. Like I was showing how
That's
we had,
spectacular.
yeah,
Please share with the audience what that is or what that was, because
it
that
was.
was
I like. Do you remember when it was probably sometime? I don't know, was it like late 90s, 2000s when they would do parody pornos? So it would be like, Edward Penis Hands and all that stuff. But yeah, you still had to buy them at an adult video store, like all the VHS tapes or DVDs. And I
And
had,
it was a joke forever. Like, any movie would become a porno and, a porno parody. And it might still be happening today.
it does, trust me. It does, because when I was going, I had some of those parody DVDs. I can't think off the top of my head which ones I already had, but they were just like funny things you get at, if you're, like they had, there was this place called Circus of Books. They closed down, but they had one in Silver Lake in West Hollywood, and they had an incredible magazine and bookstore in there. They also sold porno DVDs, VHS tapes. You could rent them too. They had bongs. Like, it was one of those. It was a staple here, and they shut them down. But back, like in
They
the
shut them down because they went out of business, or like LA shut them down because they were like
they went
low.
out of business. There was a documentary about the couple that started it. Well, is there one in West? No, the one in the. I think there's one in the West Side, still maybe in Santa Monica Boulevard. But they had the one in Silver Lake, and I would go there. And
I'm on the west side on Santa Monica Boulevard. I
okay,
will look.
so it's like right in WeHo, World of Books. I don't. You can probably Google it. They may or may not be open anymore.
What's the name of it one more time?
Uh, Circus of Books.
Circus of Books.
Is that the name of it? Sorry, I think I just said it. I already forgot.
No, you didn't. Yeah, there is a documentary.
Okay. Documentary. Yeah. So the doc is about the couple that started it, but on that side, like over there in the back,
It's in West Hollywood. It's right over here, and it is still open.
okay, so that one's still open. I think maybe they moved locations, or I don't know. There was something, I forgot what they said in the documentary, but it was, like they would do police crackdowns in the back because dudes would like cruise back there, and but the one in Silver Lake, when I lived over there, I would walk there and buy magazines, and like buy porno tapes or DVDs, because then it was DVDs, and bought a couple, like they did have like porn parody, and a lot of those, legally, I don't know if companies are coming after, uh, like there was one like Big Bang Theory, and it was the Big Bang Theory, like it was the Big Bang Theory TV show, and then they had like a Big Bang Theory porno parody, they make, there was the Seinfeld porn. They alter the characters a little bit, as far as their clothing goes, to escape legal stuff and some of the graphic design. But yeah, anyway, so I was like, majority now, a lot of movies are made in Vancouver. They're made probably on computers now with like CGI and stuff, and some film studios here. But at the time, when everything was made here, at the studios here, right over the hill in San Fernando, is where they were doing all the pornos. So I kind of want to show this juxtaposition and between like the actual movie studio stuff that's shot on.
Wow.
Commentary, I guess. I don't know. It's nothing too dark or deep.
No, I think it
But
is. It is because it's also a reflection of the world that's going on here in Los Angeles,
right.
and kind of like the seediness, the seedy underbelly,
Yeah, I love that.
but also the humor, um, and like you added an element of nostalgia by like making it DVD, and the tacticity or
Yeah.
if that's even a word, of the actual physical product. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
It can't.
like you grew up going to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and all those places, and you'd spend your whole Friday evening with a friend or whatever, just looking at VHS covers or DVD covers, just
Making a choice with a sibling.
it was the best. It was like really, I mean, yeah, it's good you point out the nostalgia factor with that, because that's the one thing that I really enjoyed most about, going to a video store, even here when I don't even think there are any here anymore, but like going, there was one on, Los Feliz that was really good. And again, you're dealing with the gatekeepers again. Like you want to watch something cool, and they are still going to clown you because they know more because they went to film school and like Kim's Video and all that. But yeah, there's something nostalgic about having the physical. Like you'd go. I mean, most of the time you're at a video store, you're like stoned when you were a kid or in college, and you spend half the time just laughing at the covers, like the covers and the titles, and then there was always, it's like you find Leprechaun, and then Leprechaun 2 is twice as worse, or twice as bad as far as the design goes. So we spend half the time laughing at that. So I think having just the just a little bit of manipulation for the porn parody covers and finding actors and actresses that somewhat looked like them was really funny to me, and then putting them next to each other to show, um, I don't know how like copyright infringement could be part of it, and parody
Yeah.
laws, and but yeah, those I was hoping that's why when I put them in the DVD racks that people would remember a time of like going to a store. I guess there's an element of nostalgia on my work. And I don't try to do that. It just happens organically.
So you also mentioned that you were doing when you moved out to California to bring it back again. You had some T-shirt design work, and you can you talk to us a little bit about working in graphic design or in clothing or T-shirts and that
Yeah.
sort of thing? Because also one way that the only other time we've engaged was I bought one of your T-shirts.
Oh no, which one?
I bought the Unabomber one, and I connected with this hot chick off a dating app
Boom.
that had that had the freaking same T-shirt.
No way. When we're off here, text me so I can see who it is, because I probably want to know who matched. I don't want to call anybody out for that, but that's
No doubt.
incredible. It's funny because people still hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I bought this shirt in 2005 from you. My boyfriend and I split up, and he stole the shirt. Do you have any laying around?" So it's, I mean, I literally had one of those the other day. Somebody was looking for something. I had a little studio sale here, and there was a shirt that I did in, I think, like, I don't know, 2013 or something, and she bought it and was like, my fucking like ex-boyfriend took it, never gave it back. I asked for it, and she's like, I know you stopped doing them, but then I had some left over because I broke out the archives and stuff. So it is funny how that just a fucking t-shirt can connect.
Dude, your vibe attracts your tribe.
I know, exactly. I think, like I started collecting t-shirts when I was a teenager. I really liked band graphics, so it started from there. Um, that was, I think that is kind of how most people got into it, in skateboard t-shirts. Um, Streetwear, like when Stussy came out, I loved all of those shirts. And it's like I would always have, like, my mom would buy me graphic tees all the time when I was a kid,
Hell
and
yeah.
so I had one of like these skateboarding skeletons that was really sick, and um, I don't remember what brand. It wasn't even a brand. It was like probably got it at like
Yeah.
Macy's or something. But
Those graphics in the 80s were just kind of
yes,
universal, and like, yeah, the skateboarding, like TNC Surf Designs, that video game was so spectacular. Just
yep,
everything, like all those skateboard stickers and those graphics that were on those skateboards in the 80s and early 90s were just so powerful. They still hold so much weight today, like so much loaded energy out. Like I can't even put my
again,
finger on
I
it.
think, like, going back to being collectors, it was a time in your life that was really formative to growing up. Um, it's the first time you have like a visual attraction or identity to something. So like when
Yeah.
I see a certain Palo Peralta graphic, I'm like, it brings me back to being 7 years old and seeing that for the first time and going like, holy shit. Or even like the color palette. Um,
Yeah.
and
Everything was so vibrant.
yeah, and even see, and like as a artist and designer, like a lot of us still look at those graphics for inspiration, and we'll
Mhm.
rip them or manipulate them, whatever. And
Yeah.
because it brings back, I mean, the graphics are sick, but it also brings back a time that, you know, meant so much to us. Like when I see, like there's certain, right now, when I was a kid, when Stussy came out, I had like Stussy 8 Ball shirts, all the like Jester shit, like No Fear. And now I went to,
Graphics bongs.
yeah, like graphics, the graphics Jester was fucking dope. But
I was gonna get that tattooed on me when I was in ninth grade.
I that's incredible because when I went to summer camp, I went to the summer camp. It was a YMCA camp, and it was so fucking hood. But my friend's dad, like, he was on the board there, so it was like me and a couple of people go up there, and it was all kids from, I don't know, like just gnarly parts of Connecticut and New York, and they knew I could draw, and it was right when the No Fear Jester skeleton came out. That was kind of like the take on the graphics bong. And but I had an ear piercing gun that the doctor gave me. I don't know, like I got me, and because they would give you those little plastic ear, so I'd pierce ears for candy, and then uh, and then I always had a sketch pad and I was drawing, and it was right around, I think I was like 12 or 11 maybe, but um, I learned from somebody about stick and poke tattoos, like the needle, ink.
I
So
have one.
yeah, see there you go. I mean, I probably have one on here somewhere, but the but I kept drawing that Jester, the No Fear Jester, and this kid in our, like, one of the bunkhouses wanted it, so I started doing it. I was like doing it on his ankle, and kind of fucked up a
How
little.
old at this time?
I was
How
probably
old
like
were you?
11, I think 11 or 12, and it was like, I'm like figuring out how to do a stick and poke. I never done one before, so it's just literally forever. And
What kind of ink?
it was the India ink, like the standard, yeah, like what? Because
Where did you get it?
well, I always had brushes and ink and pens with me,
Wow.
like little I mean, still to this day, I use the Microns, um, the same black India ink that I'm using forever. So I always had like, I mean, my sketchbooks. Christian always takes photos of them when he's here because they're just fucking ridiculous.
Wow.
But yeah, so I had my art supply kit with me because it's like the only way. It's how I met friends. It's either like you use your humor, you can fight, or you know how to draw. And I could do all three, but like
Hell yeah.
drawing was what brought everybody together. If you had one kid, oh, draw the camp counselor, getting fucked in the ass or something, it's like that's how you laughed. You made friends that way, and that's how I fucking still make friends now, buying fucking
100%.
shirts. You know what I mean? It's like nothing's changed, and yeah, and then I fucked up a little bit, and he threw a knife at me. I have a pocket, because you could have pocket knives, like kids had pocket knives and stuff. They didn't care. It was like the Swiss Army little red or green ones, and he threw it at my foot. I still have a scar in there because just like got stuck in. He got kicked out. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, graphic wise. So the around, like, always collecting shirts, band shirts, and then when I wanted to go, when I started like really going to art school, I ended up going. I went to San Francisco for a minute, and then left there and went to New York, and was taking fashion classes because I wanted to, like.
Wait, so where was art school? Sorry to
Oh yeah, sorry.
cut.
When I basically, like, all the schools I applied to, either
This is
in high
really good.
school, I got rejected because my grades were really bad. Like I just did
Oh,
not give a shit about school. But I always had straight A's in art. Like that was, I won awards and stuff. You'd win those like high school awards. Like at one school they gave me an art studio. Um,
wow.
yeah, so I was always like, I was good at that, but for some reason they care how you did in gym class or like math, and I'm like, I can't. My math is actually embarrassing, and so I didn't get into the schools I applied to. I really wanted to go to film school. I really wanted to go to um, fashion school. Like I just wanted to go to an art school, like Parsons. I
What
applied.
were you wearing back then? Also, sorry to keep interrupting. I'm just like really trying to paint the picture of
Well,
you at
I mean, it
you.
was still like, oh man, I got this infected finger. It was still, I don't know, it was like 99. So some skateboard, some punk, some
Like full Jenko or did
no,
you?
that was earlier. That was like 93, like 92,
Oh,
93. So that
okay,
was
okay.
13. So by the time, yeah, by the time I was like 17 or 18, whenever you're in high school, um, I kind of went through all the different phases of a teenager, and depending on, because it was also, like around that time, now everything, it, all cultures blend together. Like you can, you can be into pop music and wear a Nirvana shirt. You can be into rap and wear a Grateful Dead tee. You can, you know,
Yeah.
but back then you really had to, like, if you were into raves, you wore fucking rave clothing. If you were into skateboarding, you wore you know what I mean? Like
Girls.
everything you had, people knew what you were into, and that now it's up for grabs. But like around that time in the late '90s, like late '90s, I already went through everything, so it was probably, um, still a mix of like, I don't know what the fuck, like studded
Like the
belt.
Gap Pacific Sunwear. Like
No, that was more like buying Stussy and No Fear back in the
yeah.
early '90s. Like late would have been more like a
Banana
vintage shirt. Like it's right when like you go to like Salvation Army and find like a wild vintage shirt. Um,
Yep.
Vintage shirts, like uh, it wasn't like leather jackets at that point yet. That was like later on. I don't know. It was. I never really wore like band shirts. I just
Oh, you
collected
like
the graphics, but I never wore. I just never wore like band tees, because then you have to open up that floodgate for people like, oh, what do you think about their third album? Or now it's like, back then you'd be a poser. Now you can wear whatever the fuck you want, nobody cares. But if you're wearing like a, I don't know, fucking Megadeth shirt or something, you better know everything about the
these
band.
three songs?
You better not even mention, uh, you know, Black Flag or Circle Jerk. Like you can't. It's like this is your one thing. So, um,
Right.
yeah. So I think with like T. So, anyways, back. So I went to art school in San Francisco for only a couple months. I ended up like hurting my ankle really bad and had to move back home because it was in San Francisco, and there was no way I could get to school. So my parents were like, "We're not paying for you to
Wow.
like sit in a dorm, and not be able to go to school and like fail out." So I ended up moving back and then applied to. I really
Did
wanted
wait, hold on, pause. Did you hate it or something? Did you get your heart broken?
in
It
where
sounds like there's more to that story.
in San Francisco. No,
Yeah.
I just like I also was like I don't. I mean, I like it there, but it wasn't. I'm too East Coast. Like I was ready. I just wanted to be back on the East Coast. That was more what I was into. I mean, San Francisco was fun. I met like two of my best friends to this day. We were roommates there in the dorm. Um,
Wow.
but it's like first year of college. You go and you learn life drawing, and you don't really know, like you're doing the foundation year, like color theory, and it's kind of boring when you kind of know what you want to do already.
Mm.
I ended up like coming home and applied to Parsons and got into because I wanted to learn how to make clothing. Like I really wanted to learn how to make menswear and also figure out how to take my artwork to make a graphic clothing, like streetwear clothing stuff. But it wasn't streetwear at that time. Like it was just, I wanted just to have my own clothing brand with like my artwork, make the jeans that I want to make, the jackets, like all that stuff. And that was really cool. Like I learned, you go in, and it was a 2-year associate program, but with menswear stuff, you always start off doing women's wear. So you have to learn how to make like a skirt, a jacket, a bodice, like all this stuff. And then after that, you can learn how to do menswear, and I was like, I don't really want to make, like, I want to make stuff for myself. I'm not trying to make, like, I don't want to make a skirt. Like, this is boring. I can do it. I like sewing. It's
Wow.
actually like really meditative. Um, but again, there was a lot of math involved with that, which is really hard as far as like doing pattern making. And they had a screen printing. Part of it was you learn how to screen print. So they had the screen printing um, print, like a printmaking lab there, and I would go in and learn how to do like litho prints and um, block printing, screen printing, and then I spent more time in the screen printing area printing like artwork, and was
Wow.
starting to really learn how to like, I just enjoyed that more, I think, because it was more immediate. Like, you could just come up with the design, do it there, learn the process, and then have a physical sample. And so I started spending more time there and printing like a t-shirt or two, and stopped going to the fashion classes and spending more time in the printmaking. So the school was like, here's the thing. You've basically been doing dual majors right now. You can either pay for your on top of your fashion major or printmaking major, or you can leave. So
Wow.
I was like, well, all right, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. Like, I think the problem is like in art
Was this
school,
at Parsons?
this was that part. It was an associate program there. It wasn't the 4 year, because I didn't get in the 4 year because of my grades in high school, which again I
Wow.
should have paid more attention. But that's my problem with art school is like I don't know. Some people know exactly what they want to do. Like, if you want to go to school for photo, like, you just want to
Mhm.
learn all photography. I think people like me and a lot of other people that are artists can relate. Like, you want to learn everything. Like, if
Yep.
you're at art school, I want to learn how to I take a photograph. I want to learn how to make a film. I want to learn how to paint,
Yeah.
print make, da da da. But they cater to one thing. I mean, there's some art schools that you kind of go in and figure it out, but you need to have direction. Um, like taking a video art class, I thought was really cool, but I wasn't trying to be a, performance artist or whatever. But yeah, so anyways, I think that's my issue with a lot of art schools is I just wanted to learn so much, and then ended up going to SVA for fine art. And then, through there you take like whatever your interest was. Just take a summer class in cartooning, or I took a comedy writing class and then a painting class. And it was just, the printmaking class was really great. I would go in there a lot and spend all my time. I stopped going to the painting classes and would just focus on printmaking. And I started printmaking or silk screening T-shirts because the our professor was really cool. Like, I learned how to print on canvas. I learned how to print on paper, color separation, and it was still like the old school way with razor blades. Um,
Wow.
you know,
And layers.
yeah, like it was like doing the layers, doing everything on vellum,
Whoa.
tracing paper, and then scanning it and printing out the film at a place I'd have to go to that did blueprint printouts because they didn't
So
have.
tell us. So tell us, like, what were those teas back then?
So
Because
the
I love shirts
well,
also.
it's funny because I was going through. I never like I in high school. I never made a band shirt like for a friend's band or my bands. Like, never made any of those. Um, would always make my own shirts from band shirts. So like a Crash shirt, or like my friend told me he found a photo. I made him like a fucked T-shirt, which I
Wow.
need to get that
Shout
photo
out.
of. Yeah, it was a homemade one. I couldn't afford to buy him one for his birthday, so I made one.
Oh,
I told
cool.
Eric, yeah, I told Eric, I was like, dude, I made a ringer tee, this Polaroid. I don't even remember, but my friend was like, you made me a ringer tee with the fuck logo. Because they were too expensive to buy in New York at Yellow Rat Bastard Road. They were like, I don't know,
Yellow Red
yeah,
Bastard.
like that, like those
It
stores
was on
right on,
Broadway,
yep, on Broadway. Like all those spots, Canal Jeans, like all those places were too expensive. So I made one for him because I was like 14 or something, or 15. But yeah, so then like going back to printmaking, it was, we did a class learning how to print on fabric. So we learned how to screen print on, canvas, um, cotton, whatever, nylon, silk, and then that turned into like, okay, we're gonna print t-shirt graphics now. Like, come in with a graphic, and we're gonna show you the proper way to print on a shirt, how to like flash dry it, um, and just like even making the screen. Like there's something mechanical that I really like about it. And so the first graphic which I found was I made a drawing of a fucking unicorn as a gift for a girl that I was dating at the time.
Hell yeah. No, this is awesome. I had so much fun. I'm going to stop recordings, but thank you so much for coming on the show. And let's